Hey everybody, Roman Versus with the Squashfest podcast and my co-host.
The undisclosed fourth member of the Paul Heyman guys, the boy Harm.
Okay, I'll take it. So we're starting off right off rip. The reason we're laughing is because he thinks Raw was mid, and I found so many things that annoyed me, just even production wise. So I don't
Okay.
so I don't know if you peeped, but did you watch the international version or did you watch
No.
the
I watched
Netflix,
the I watched the
the
American
American?
Netflix version. I didn't turn my VPN on.
So if you watched and you paid attention, there was literally a point where I forgot his name. Tiffany Stratton's boyfriend.
Ludwig Kaiser.
Ludwig Kaiser pops up on your screen.
This is only for the international audience.
He finished saying no. This is the American.
Okay.
He apparently just finished saying something and then that's it and it goes to the next scene. He never actually he didn't even get a word out. It was like the end of a sentence and
He
it
wasn't
aired.
supposed to be on for the American audience.
And the way they cut it, he pops up and then he disappears. I saw that and I was like, there's no way that Harm didn't catch this. I was like, if he didn't catch this, I'm going to let him know because this is poor quality production.
To be honest, I watched this Raw in two parts. I watched it last night falling asleep. I was falling asleep before 8 o'clock, so I put it on and I tried to watch it. I fell asleep after the Roxanne Perez match.
Okay.
And then I put it on this morning and watched it while I was driving. So I was doing both. So I know what happened, but some of the little intricacies you're gonna have to fill in. But I have thoughts on just about every segment.
I love how you're the play-by-play guy.
I'll still do play-by-play. Let's go. Let's do this.
All right. Kick us off.
All right, so we started the night with Seth Rollins coming out to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he was wearing. Usually his drip is on point. This week, and no disrespect to anybody, this week it looked like he was going to a mosque.
Okay.
Like that's the way he was dressed. A super long trench coat jacket all the way down, very florally planned. I'm looking at it right now. Blue jacket suit. Just I don't know. This was a miss for me from Seth Rollins.
Okay.
Comes up, starts cutting a promo, starts talking about how again he's the future and all of these other things, and he's immediately interrupted Sami Zane, which is strange because Sami.
First off, he hasn't even been around.
He was there last week for the first time to congratulate Jey Uso.
Yeah, he hasn't been around. He popped up just to say congratulations, and now suddenly he wants to insert himself and share his thoughts on things. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Sami comes into the ring, and he starts doing his Sami impassioned super babyface promo.
Yep.
Seth, I've known you for a long time. I've known you for 10 years. I've known you for this. We can count on that. We can count on one hand how many friends we have, right? I might be conflating the two promos in my brain. One early in the show and one later.
I mean, it's more or less the same.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, Sami tells him, for everything you said you wanted to fix professional wrestling and be the future of it. You have basically built your own version of the bloodline.
Yep.
You hold on.
And he was basically just like, how is this like the bloodline? This is completely different. And he was just breaking it down. He was like, no, it's literally the same. You have your wise man over here, and you have your dog over here. He's like, it's the same thing.
Sorry, somebody was bringing the cat into my room because whatever.
I kept it going.
Yeah, I know. So there she goes. Hi, listen.
As soon as you said it, she's just like, I'm right here.
So he's like, how is this a version of bloodline? I'm building the future. I'm building this. And Sami tells him, like, you basically are jealous of CM Punk. You're jealous of Roman Reigns. You wanted to be in their position, even to the point where you stole the wise man. He's over one shoulder, and he looks at Bron and goes, "You even have your dog over here, and if he keeps looking at me, I'm gonna kick his face in," which is kind of eerily similar to what somebody said about Solo Sikoa. I think it was CM Punk when he.
It was Jay.
It was Jay. Okay.
It was Jay. He said there was a reason why we never brought him around us, Oos. And if he keeps looking at me like that, I'm gonna.
Okay.
It was that.
Okay. Yeah, I know I heard that before. I just couldn't place it.
Yep.
So essentially, Braun is ready to rip Sami's throat out of his neck, and Seth tells Sami, I've known you for a decade. I'm going to give you an out. Go to SmackDown. So that way, because if you don't follow with our vision, our plan for the future, then there's going to be repercussions, and you're going to be a target. And I don't want you to be a target because I like you.
Because I love you. Because I love you.
Because I love you. Yes, he did say that. So that was the initial promo between these people. I understand inserting Sami because Sami, again, even if we don't, Sami's thing is I want to win a world championship. He's on 1999 Mick Foley right now. He wants to be the WWE champion.
I can see that. That's a great comparison. Good job.
Yeah, because when he was talking later in the show, all I could hear is Mick Foley. But he's on 1999 Mick Foley right now. I want to win a world championship. But nobody actually views Sami Zayn right now as world championship material. Not the fans either. We love him. He's on screen. We don't view him as world championship material. And I think that's the premise of this thing. So, I don't remember if it was this promo or later in the show. It was the first promo. He goes, we'll send you to SmackDown, and then you face the winner of Randy Orton, John Cena. So that way Heyman will get you away, and you'll get what you really want. You'll get a world championship match.
During the first promo is when they mentioned go to SmackDown. Midway through the show, when Paul Heyman goes to see Sami in the locker room, was when he said you'll face.
There was such a through line in this entire thing. It's a blur. But yes. No, guys. And I watched that this morning before I was driving, so I have no excuse to know it. I do remember that. Okay. So, but that was the initial part of the segment. I didn't like the initial segment. I thought that for what they were doing with Braun and Seth came off too much of a good guy.
Agreed.
Like he needed to, he's, and they fix it later.
No, yeah, 100%.
They fix it later. But he came off as the good guy while Braun, he's supposed to be this badass. So he's almost like his handler, which is also not a way I want them to book Bron Breakker. I don't want Bron Breakker just to be Solo Sikoa 2.0.
That's what he's going to be, it looks like.
And that's a terrible way to make this group. Because if you look back at the iterations of groups, I'm going to say post Attitude Era. So we're talking about Evolution, Legacy. I'll throw Nexus in there, and I'll throw the Shield in there. If you look at these groups, you don't have just a big guy who's just an enforcer. You have a big guy who's in the group and has his own motivations to why he's in the group, which is where I think you should go with Bron Breakker. He needs to be in this group, but he needs to be getting elevated by Paul Heyman into a main event status so he can eventually win a world championship and not just be Seth Rollins' lackey. And that's what it looks like it's going to be through one episode, and I didn't really like it.
I got you. I was just confused, as you said, why the hell Sami's coming out. But then I understood, he's the conscience of everybody. So I understood it. But I also, it's funny because later on in the third promo, he throws out the word hypocritical, and that's exactly what I thought this whole thing was, is Sami's being very hypocritical right now because essentially he was in the bloodline with Paul Heyman, and it's not like they broke up, yes, but then they got back together, and then they all kind of separated and did their own thing and didn't have an official breakup. So for him to just be like, "Oh, this isn't right," and they haven't even done anything yet. All they did was take out CM Punk and take out Roman Reigns, and realistically, those are two guys that Roman, for the most part, was out of control, so to speak, and had to be put down eventually. And CM Punk, who, whatever, for whatever reason, they have their own blood feud. But there was nothing that I was like, what has he done so far that is so egregious that it deserves Sammy coming out to, like, completely just, this isn't right. You shouldn't be doing this. Blah, 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 blah. Just the fact that the group was formed, he doesn't like. Because he had problems with Bron Breakker before. They had a feud. And because Paul Heyman betrayed Roman Reigns. But you shouldn't care about that as Sami Zayn, because the bloodline's over. You guys broke up, as he said. So why do you care?
The argument only, and he touches on it, and they should have explored it more. The only point I can make for Sami is, Seth, you are my friend. Seth, our kids do play together. Seth, all of these things happen. You should not be aligning yourself with Paul Heyman. That's the argument Sami should have. Is because Paul, I've seen what this is. I've been in the trenches with Paul Heyman for over a year, and I know where he's going to lead you, and that's not a place I want for my friend. That's the argument for Sami Zayn.
No, and I would have agreed with that. He didn't play into that, though.
Yeah.
He just, this is wrong. I don't agree with this.
But why is it wrong? Because it's hypocritical that Seth Rollins wants to be the number one guy in the industry. Every wrestler wants to be the number one guy in the industry. Stone Cold literally said, if you're not trying to be the WWF champion, why are you in this business? Everybody wants to be front and center on the posters.
Cody Rhodes said that, and he's the ultimate babyface.
Sammy wants to be front and center on the posters. Why does Sammy want to be WWE champion? Of course, it's my dream. I love professional wrestling. But of course, you're going to be WWE champion in real life reasons, be on the posters, sell more merch, make more money. That's the reason. So it's not hypocritical. Seth has been the guy in that company for a decade. And he's finally getting, if not number one spot, he's finally getting elevated to he's on the level of the other guys. And this is where, and it makes no sense.
It made no sense. It made no sense. I didn't agree with that.
All right, so then we get our first match of the night, and I disagree with putting this match first. Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez.
Well, I know why you disagree.
I love them both.
Exactly. You love them both, and you thought this should have been further up the card.
Yes.
I'll agree with you. I agree with it, but when you also think about all the other matches that happened last night, there weren't really good, captivating matches other than that one.
Coming out of that Seth Rollins segment, I would have done the tag match. But I understand why they didn't do it, because they set it up with a backstage segment beforehand. But I would have done the tag match, because I think that's a better match. Let me put it this way. Finn and JD don't need to be for at least for the in-stadium crowd. They don't need to be introduced to people. The War Raiders don't need to be introduced to people. New Day don't need to be introduced to people. You put that match on second segment, so if people want to be like, let me go get a hot dog, let me go get some popcorn, let me go do something, you can do it during this match. You're introducing new stars to the roster. You're introducing Roxanne Perez, and by the end of this segment, you are introducing Julia, and you are introducing no, it's those two. Those two, because Stephanie Vaquer is later. But you're introducing new stars to the female roster. This is not a good spot for them to be second on the card, essentially, in the first, because what do we've always talked about women's matches in the past? They're popcorn matches. They're, if you need to go to the bathroom, if they need to go get something, you do it then. I felt like this was a little disrespectful for the level of caliber that these two women, I'm just talking about Rhea and Roxanne, are, because that match was really good. And I felt like the crowd wasn't into it. The live crowd wasn't into it. Even though I felt like that live crowd last night was terrible.
I agree. They were very dull.
Yeah.
I think the only real pop that they had last night was the Jey Uso when he came out.
Jey Uso, and towards the end, like
towards the end, the betrayal,
the end.
whatever. Yeah.
The beatdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't like the spot for this match. So this match is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that they highlighted Roxanne being smarter in ring than Rhea.
Because that's the only way that you were going to believe that it was competitive.
It felt like a 1980s, early 90s match where the heel, targets a body part. The small part, the smaller of the people. Let's chop down the legs. Let's hit her. Let's wrap her leg around the ring post, a la Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's do all of these things so that way Rhea can't get her offense in.
Mm-hmm.
Roxanne, for her age, I know she's been wrestling since she's been 15, but for her age, being 23 or 24 years old, is so smart. And Booker did such a great job treating her. This match was really fun, really good. I don't like that it ended in another disqualification, because how many times per week are we going to do this where we're not getting a clear-cut winner in these women's matches?
Mm-hmm.
That's my other argument. But this was fun. Eventually, Giulia comes out, attacks Rhea Ripley for the receipt for last week when Rhea stopped her from attacking Stephanie Vaquer.
Mm-hmm.
The two heels start beating down Rhea Ripley, and then you get Io Sky come out to make the save. I swear. Io Sky come out to make the save. She starts getting a little offense in. The two heels turn on Io. They get the control, and then hobbling Rhea Ripley because of the leg injury from the match comes in and makes a save for Io. The heels take the powder. Io, the way she looks at Rhea towards the end, it's like, why are we helping? It's almost like, why are we helping each other? But I said this last week, she needs to stop smiling. It's a level of reverence because she's looking at Rhea.
Alone.
She's looking at Rhea up like this. And I'm just like, no, she wants your title. I don't care that you're both baby faces. She wants your championship. We just came out of a promo segment that she just, or not a promo segment, a whole feud where she wheeled her way into your WrestleMania match.
But But remember, right now she has no claim to the title. So
Rhea doesn't.
Yeah. So realistically, Io doesn't even see her as a factor. Right now, they're just dealing with the fact that every time one of them is trying to have a match, these two keep interrupting. So right now, the women's title is taking a back seat,
which is a bad thing. Also,
100%, it's a bad thing, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what's happening, and that's why it makes sense that she's like, we're friends right now. Eventually, they're gonna put the fire back under, but not before we get a tag match between these two teams.
Probably next week.
That's exactly.
You're right. You're 100% right.
As soon as this happened again, I said we're about to get a tag match.
This is Vince McMahon levels of booking right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, 100%. I didn't think about that all the time.
And then on commentary, you're gonna hear, "Can these two women coexist?"
By the way, we'll get to Pat McAfee later. Oh god. Effective segment for getting all of the women involved over.
Yep.
They need to do a little bit more to get Giulia over for the crowd. Mm-hmm. She hasn't had a main roster match, even though it looks like at this point Roxanne and Giulia are mainstays on Raw. They're called up to the Raw roster.
You think so?
Yes. Well, there was the leak that earlier this week that they both had on those Raw debut patches last week somewhere on their gear. The ones that they were going to put in with the cards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they had Roxanne had it on the back of her leg last week, and then Giulia had it somewhere on her gear. They weren't like visible where you could see them when they were moving around.
Okay.
But they're going to be, anyone's going to be wearing them. They're going to be putting them in those tops.
Tops cards. Yeah.
So I think they're all mainstays on Raw. As I do think so is Stephanie. I think Stephanie's been called up. They're going to let her keep having matches until she loses that championship on NXT. So
Well, you saw the clip. I think I sent it to you. Where she basically said that she was offered when she was.
That was from like a month ago. I saw it when it first aired on Busted Open. They offered her. They told her whatever show you want to go to, and she said she
chose
wanted to go to
NXT.
NXT, which is the smart thing for her to do.
Agreed.
It was 100% smart thing for her to do. As I'm scrolling through the review page, the last line of this: the inevitable tag team or fatal 4-way match is going to be straight fire. That's what it says.
It's a tag team. It's a tag team.
Yeah. So then we get Logan Paul in the ring.
Yep.
And as he's saying this, I vaguely remember telling you Logan Paul should go for a world championship.
We both had this conversation.
Yeah,
we had this conversation and we both agreed he was going to go after Jay's.
Yeah, Jay Uso, yes.
Because he's gonna be a more or less of the mindset of, yeah, maybe I didn't beat Roman, but I'm still good enough to win a title. Let me go after the weaker of the two.
Yeah, so he comes out and he starts cutting a promo about how he's conquered everything. How he's been in 15, 16, 17 matches. He's been he conquered everything in WWE that he's wanted to do, except for win a world championship. So he calls out Jey Uso. Jay comes out, and I do appreciate that Jay, again, a little bit more serious this time. Someone's challenging his world championship. Someone's challenging something that he fought for 15 years to get to. So he doesn't come through the crowd; he comes through the stage. But doesn't have any of his merch gear on. He has a white wife beater on and sweats, and a gold chain that says "Yeet." But he comes up, he starts talking. He's basically saying everything I just said. And as the crowd's trying to do the yeet what chants, that's what I'm going to call them. I'm going to call them the yeet what chants. He does the thing again where he tells them to quiet down because he's to show he's more serious.
Yep.
So he's like, you want a shot at the world championship? You want a shot at everything I fought for? You're going to have to take it from me. Because I'm be damned, and this is gonna be a thread for the rest of Logan's WWE run. I'll be damned if I lose my championship to a YouTuber. Everyone's gonna keep saying that to this guy, and when he says that, Logan rolls his eyes.
Yeah.
Because again, even though I'm a YouTuber, in his mind, I've conquered the internet world. I fought Floyd Mayweather in a staged, unsanctioned fight. I've been here in WWE for, I feel like it's 3 years now he's been in WWE. I've had main event matches with Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. I have viral moments with Ricochet at the Royal Rumble. I have a WrestleMania match with Seth Rollins.
He's done it all.
WrestleMania match with AJ Styles. He's done everything except for win that title in his mind. He goes, you can keep calling me a YouTuber all you want, but I know who I am. So he turns his back on Jay, starts to cut a promo, and Jay super kicks him. Effective segment for what they wanted to do, but I don't like the babyface ever attacking the heel unprovoked.
Okay.
If you would have flipped these, and I'm talking about later in the show, if you would have flipped those two segments, I would have understood. You let Logan get the punch in this segment, and you let Jay super kick him in the back or attack him in the back and then you separate them with thing. I think that's more effective.
I get what you're saying, but if you did that, then the question would be, why didn't Jay come out to save Sami in the end?
No, because that happened before. Oh, because Jay got punched in the face. I understand what you're saying. You're thinking too much of that. You're keeping them separated.
No, because that was they intersected in the back. So then right away, whatever you need, Oos, blah, 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 I support you. Okay, so if he's getting his ass kicked in the ring, you would expect Jay to come out. But you have to have a reason why he can't come out, and it's because he was knocked out.
That makes sense. I would have just said he's getting drunk in the back like he does after every one of his every one of his matches.
I can't.
You see him at the press conferences? This man is always tipsy. He looks like he's having a bunch of fun. Yes. Him and Travis Scott are hanging out in the stall of a bathroom smoking a J.
I thought it was a okay segment. I'm okay anytime anybody wants to attack Logan Paul
Logan Paul.
unprovoked.
Anyways,
I'm just saying.
We're gonna stop the Logan Paul hate, all right?
No, we are not. We is a lot of people. Can't pay me enough.
Okay. So then we get the backstage segment of Finn, the Judgment Day in the clubhouse.
Yep.
Right? And I was thinking about this as I was driving before. They waste a lot of money on travel for these guys. Because think about, you had this backstage segment was just to get Finn and JD into a match with the War Raiders.
Okay.
You flew Raquel, Liv, Dom, and Carlito to Raw for essentially 3 minutes.
Disagree, because they were in 2 segments, good sir.
Who was?
Dom, Liv, and Raquel.
What other segment were they in?
When they went to go talk to is it Adam Pierce? No, the other one, not Adam Pierce.
I don't remember that segment.
Oh my god, gee, you were all over the place. Yes, they were in another segment.
Okay.
Or whatever, and he basically no, they were just in another segment in the back, essentially just causing a headache. That was basically it. It was really worthless. And then basically they came in as he was talking. Nick Aldis, there you go.
Nick Aldis.
He was talking to AJ Styles. And then basically Dom,
or as Pat McAfee called him, SmackDown version of Adam Pearce.
Yes. And then Dom, Raquel, and Liv came in. They talked a bunch of smack, and then they walked away. And essentially, AJ is setting himself up to be the next person to go up against Dom. Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, I didn't remember the segment
because they were coming up. They were like, okay, after that loss or whatever, what else do you want to do? And they both were like, they each had a list of people that they wanted to fight. But then Dom rubbed it in his face that he had a chip. And that this one lost, so then that's why they came up with that scenario. They didn't announce it. But they were saying that essentially they were alluding to it coming up on Backlash.
I fell asleep during the initial watch and was definitely fast forwarding to the second watch. Okay, all right, so that makes sense. Dom AJ Styles match could be really fun. All right, so essentially what happens in the first Judgment Day segment is Finn walks in. They're all playing 2K, of course they are. Finn pulls JD over and says, JD, you're my boy. Why didn't you tell me you were cleared and coming back to Raw last week? And JD goes, I told Dom. I thought he was going to relay the message to you. And Finn's like, well, no one told me anything. And then Liv, again, walks over and she goes, is everything okay over here? And she's so awesome in her role. And when she's super nervous in those things, she's so cute. But then when she's in the ring, it's just like, what the hell? This is a different person. But she's like, yeah. So, but we're all good together. And by the way, I talked to Nick Aldis, and you guys need to get ready for your match. And Finn's like, what match? And JD's like, oh, right. Liv said we should go over for we should start going for the tag championships again. So we got a match tonight against the War Raiders. And Finn's like, okay, because I can initially he would be like, oh, I want another shot at the Intercontinental Championship, but by Liv talking to management without Finn knowing,
it keeps him away from her.
She's keeping him away from Dom.
Yep.
So she's
very
playing
smart.
games.
Yep.
She's very smart with the way she's playing games, and Finn was just he goes, okay, that makes sense, because he's getting played and he doesn't know it. So then we get that match. We get Judgment Day.
Hold up.
Versus.
What's the last part of that segment?
Oh, Carlito comes up and goes, maybe I should go for a championship too.
He's like, yeah. And I started thinking, I'm like, what can he do? What can he do? And
the only championship he can go for is Jay, if he's going to be on Raw. Or go over to SmackDown and try to win one of those titles. Or Carlito Colon Speed Champion.
Which is what I was thinking right now, and you make it canon.
Carlito Colon Speed Champion. He shows up with the title. Oh, that would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. I
It
like
looks
it.
so good. Who's the men's? Is it Dragon Lee still?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we get Finn Balor, JD McDonough against the War Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're the Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
I think Finn and JD need a tag team name.
Okay.
Back to the show. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking. And the Irishman. Something Irish. Because, again, we got so many of these Irish people on the show now. Between them, Becky,
I understand
Lyra.
what you're saying. Because, like, the Usos were part of the bloodline, but, they were
Yeah.
their own tag team and so on and so forth. Like, you could have a sub
Yeah, New Age
section.
Outlaws, D Generation X.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
what you're saying.
They need their own separate name because eventually they're going to be kicked out of the group or they're going to leave on their own, and I can still see Finn and JD tagging together. So we get this match. New Day. I was going to call them New Day again. The New Day are in commentary for this match. Watching this match, Xavier Woods was hilarious during this entire thing. They kept talking about Ibar's weight. He's like, why is it impressive, Michael Cole?
Because he's fat. Yeah.
Because he's fat. Because a fat guy can move. Because a big guy can go. And what do you
Mad
mean?
disrespectful.
Talking about Eric having no hair. He's just they were disrespectful this entire time. Really good match. These guys have wrestled, I want to say at least, if you include house shows, probably 10, 15 times. I know it's at least been 3 televised matches before this because when the Judgment Day were tag champions. This team just has a lot of chemistry. JD, I say this all the time, one of the more underrated wrestlers in WWE. He can go. Even to the point where I think it was Kofi said, this guy was hurt. Look at the way he's moving. Like, this guy can go. I love JD. War Raiders eventually get the win.
Mm-hmm.
And with the interference and help from one masked Penta, thank you. I was going to say Ray Phoenix. That wasn't right. Penta comes out and attacks. I know it was wrong. Penta comes out and attacks JD because of how JD attacked him in his return last week against Dominic Mysterio. War Raiders hit whatever their finishing move is called. They get the 3 count. Penta stands up over the crowd on the announce desk, cheering with everybody while the War Raiders are in the ring. And then it's announced next week we're going to get Penta versus JD on Raw. That match
they
is
announced
really
it?
Good. Yeah, Penta versus JD next week.
Because he was also in a backstage segment. I don't know if you peeped that.
That
one.
might have been that backstage segment. I know they announced it sometime. Pretty much. I did peep Penta in the backstage segment. No. So we're gonna get Penta versus JD next week on Raw. That match is gonna be really good. So next we get that second segment we were talking about between Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn, and Otis is just sitting there.
Yeah, that was weird.
He's just sitting there talking with Sami Zayn while Paul Heyman's there. Paul Heyman looks at Otis. He goes, "Can you give us a minute?" Like, it's just
like, why are you here? Just random.
Like, just randomly shows up. Basically, we touched on this already. This segment was to put more fuel in Sammy's head to go to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to Nick Aldis and I spoke to Adam Pearce, and they both agreed. You go over to SmackDown, you face the winner of Cena Orton for the world title.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fine. I'm still waiting on you to tell me what thoughts you have for Raw, because you don't seem to have many issues yet.
No, so I have many issues. We're just not up to the places where I have the issues.
Gotcha.
It's more towards the end of the show, but I thought that was a very good segment with Sammy and Paul, and the fact that he's dangling the opportunity over his head. And not for nothing, it's crazy how Paul has all these strings that he can pull for people and just get them matches. And the fact that he can just get him a match to fight whoever wins between Orton and Cena.
I mean, he's Paul Heyman.
That don't mean nothing to me.
In kayfabe, everybody respects Paul Heyman. He started ECW. He was a Brock Lesnar guy. He was the head writer of SmackDown.
But he's offering something that is not a guarantee. You understand what I'm saying?
No, but that's why he said I spoke. That's why he said I spoke to these guys and I got you a match. Like if you're Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce, you have such a reverence for Paul Heyman in kayfabe that you're going to listen and take any meeting he wants. And Paul Heyman is in the Vince McMahon snake oil salesman type of
I get that
of thing, where he can sell water to a well. It doesn't matter. He starts talking. It's like, you know what, Paul? That is a great idea. Let's do it.
I guess.
He was able to negotiate Brock Lesnar being a free agent and not being draftable in a draft while he was still a Roman Reigns Wiseman. Like there are, yeah, exactly. So,
and I also like the fact that Bron Breakker was just there in the doorway, just like he's just waiting.
He's there to protect Paul Heyman.
Not even that. I felt like he was just there to find out, like, yo, if he doesn't take this offer, I'm ready. I'm ready to beat him down.
Beat him up in the locker room.
Yeah, like he's just ready at all times. Like he just looked all night like he just wanted to beat the crap out of Sami Zayn, and I loved it.
All right, so then we get Becky Lynch coming out to the ring.
Yeah, there's my problem.
Okay, so Becky Lynch comes out to the ring. And she starts cutting a promo talking about the man has come back to Kansas City. The man, and I made Lyra Valkyria who she is. We won the women's tag team championships. So when we lost them, it's whatever. And then she starts talking about Bayley, and this is my problem. And I don't know if it's going to be your same problem. She goes,
It's more or less, I think, probably the same problem.
I beat down Lyra, and then I beat down Bayley. And she goes, I beat down Bayley. And I'm just like, I'm glad they're not prolonging it the way they prolonged the Jade Cargill one.
Yes.
And they just wanted to get it out in the open. But so the first time they turned Becky heel, it did not work.
Yes. This entire segment, I kept thinking that line from your mind when you had told me that, and you were like, they're not going to let her. Continue.
They're doing everything to try to force a heel Becky down the fans' throat.
Yep.
Even when she came out to the crowd, it wasn't 100% boos.
No.
There was a mixed reaction from the fans.
Yep.
People love Becky Lynch.
Yep.
There's going to be sections of this crowd that will not let her turn heel. So she comes out, even as much as Lyra comes out and is super baby face with her promo. So Becky starts running it down, and then Lyra comes out. He goes, Becky, you didn't make me. I am who I am because of my hard work. I looked up to you, and she slips up a little bit. What she said made no sense. She goes, everybody in the back told me not to trust you, and I didn't listen to them. Even Bayley told me not to trust you, and I didn't listen to her. And when she said that, my brain went, when the hell did Bayley tell you not to trust Becky? Because if you're telling me the segment when Bayley got hurt, they literally asked Bayley, who attacked you? Bayley says, I don't know. And then if you're putting two and two together, Lyra would have had to talk to Bayley and be like, I need a tag partner for tomorrow. I'm thinking about Becky. And then Bayley would have had to tell her, don't trust Becky.
Yeah.
But you have to jump through so many hoops to get there because she just says, Bayley told me not to trust you.
No, I think you're just going down a rabbit hole that's not necessary. She could have told her that at any point. She could have told her that last year for all we know. And it's okay. We don't need to know the exact, because.
But my point of that doesn't make any sense. Why would Bayley tell you not to trust Becky if Becky's not in your orbit?
Because Becky's a snake, bro.
Fine, correct. Becky's a snake, but why would the conversation of Becky be coming up between Bayley and Lyra?
Because if me and you are traveling together, and we're getting to know each other and we're going for these tag team titles, we're talking about everything. And we're going to come across, everybody's going to be a concept. When I'm trying to pick your brain and find out things about the industry and how to come up and how you did it, you're eventually going to get to Becky and be like, and don't trust this chick. That's how. Leave it alone. It ain't that deep.
I think
you're trying to make it.
That's where my brain went. I'm just like, when the hell did they have a conversation about Becky in the 24 hours between the matches?
It could have been at any point. You just want to make it into something. Oh, right, man. Well, you drive me crazy sometimes.
I think too hard about wrestling sometimes, all right? I go into detail what happens. Like, yes. All right, so they come out, and Lyra's having babyface promo. She challenges her to a fight. Becky leaves the ring. Lyra yelling at her, saying, I used to want to be the next Becky Lynch, but not anymore, because I'm Lyra Valkyria. I'm going to be a better person than you, and I'm already a better wrestler than you. When she says that, Becky gets into one of her fiery promos, just angrily yelling when you don't really understand what she's saying. Lyra hits her with a missile drop kick, and that missile drop kick with those large pumps on her feet has got to hurt, because she had on those 5-inch stilettos that make her look taller than she is. That had to hurt. Becky runs away. Lyra goes up the ramp. Becky must have ran super fast to the stage, because she comes around and attacks Lyra at the top of the stage after running through the crowd.
Yep.
And they make the match for Backlash. Lyra tells Becky, I'm going to fight you. You're not going to do it tonight in Kansas City. Fine. Let's do it at Backlash. This is my other issue. Why is Lyra putting her championship on the line without Becky ever once acknowledging or saying, I'm going for the Intercontinental Championship?
Did you not hear what she said? Becky's whole thing was that she's not going to fight her unless it means something.
Unless it means something to her. But she never said Intercontinental Championship.
So then she said, I know what will make you have this fight. I'll put up the title. And then you see Becky say yes.
The babyface should never put up the championship unwillingly. It should always be...
It's not unwillingly. It's willingly. She put it up because she's a fighting champion.
The babyface should never
say, she's a fighting champion.
I have this.
That doesn't make sense. She's not saying, I have this. She's saying, I want to fight you, and the only way you're going to take this fight is if I put this on the line. So she's unwillingly putting it up. She's not just putting it out there. She's putting it up with the sole intent to have this fight.
My whole thing is the heel should always challenge first before the babyface accepts. The babyface shouldn't say, I want to beat you down.
The babyface wants the lick back for Bayley and herself. I disagree.
I don't like that booking.
I disagree.
All right, so that's how that segment went. Go ahead. Let's see what's your first.
My whole thing is gonna be it's a couple things, but first it's the stupid. I told you what I wanted. I didn't want Becky to be the one that attacked Bayley. I wanted her to just take advantage of the circumstance, but I wanted it to be someone completely different and have Bayley go off in a different direction.
Okay.
That bothered me. And
at least they touched on why she attacked Bayley.
No, that's fine and all, but I also thought that was stupid. Hey, I beat her down because of the past, a year ago. 6 years.
Since 2019.
Fine. So
she
since
went back
2019 when she was a heel and she was beating me down and she never apologized. Stop it. I hated that line so much. I'm like, since when do heels when they switched over?
She went back to Boss and Hug Connection. Bayley, when she was teaming with Sasha Banks.
That part just pissed me off. And then the other part that pissed me off was just, you didn't feel, so you even touched on it, that she was just screaming her head off. She felt like she was giving her best Vicky Guerrero impersonation. That's what it felt like. And she was doing it because she was trying to be annoying and obnoxious for the crowd to hate her. Like, she was doing so much to get that crowd heat.
Yep.
And it still wasn't working. There were moments where it was, and then there were moments where it wasn't, because the problem is when Becky's a face, her whole personality is she's a fighter.
I'm a fighter, and I'm one of the people. I'm doing it just for all of you guys.
But now she's a heel, and she's still a fighter. So people are gonna cheer for that because she's essentially like Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, where they just like the fight. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's what it is with her. So when she's back into that character, even though she's a heel and she just wants to get the best fight or whatever, they're gonna cheer that. It's the same character, but just with screeching noises coming out of her mouth.
Okay.
That's it. And I'm not buying it right now. I'm not buying it. And I just felt like that's such cheap heat for her to be the one that jumped Bayley. I did like how she delivered the reveal though, because it was kind of funny. She was like, "Oh, and after all the footage was reviewed," and she was like, "It was me." Like her delivery of it was dope. Yeah, I thought that was dope, but it just annoyed me that it was just. I feel like they did it for a cheap heat. That's the best way I could describe it.
Okay.
And I still, after all of that, I could still care less about Lyra. I couldn't care less.
I thought this was a good way, and this is a feud that's going to make people care about Lyra, because that's the one thing I always said. So like when she first got that championship, that's perfectly fine. She's a great wrestler. She's the first women's intercontinental championship, but who's she going to feud with? Because you can't just go out there and put on good matches for sake of good matches. They do that on the other show on Wednesdays, and that's why we don't care about a lot of their characters, because there is no character development. This is the first time that you're going to see character development for Lyra, because she's now feuding with somebody who is essentially her mentor, somebody from her home country who she has a past rivalry with in NXT. She mentions about beating Becky for the NXT championship. So, and somebody who she views as, in less of a words, a big sister.
Yeah.
Somebody who paved the way for her. So this is a way to get people to care for Lyra. Does she win at Backlash? I don't think so. I'm never gonna pick against Becky Lynch. Like this company will do anything. She's essentially 1999 Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like she is that person. That was when you were saying that she's a fighter and she's doing it. That's the person who pops into my head when I see Becky is Stone Cold Steve Austin. But she's comes out there. She can be the anti-hero. She can be the hero. But people just will cheer her regardless of what she does.
Also Becky's never been an intercontinental champion, correct?
Well, there's only been one intercontinental champion.
Oh, Lyra was the first one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she beat Dakota for it. It was the tournament. She was the first, and Chelsea was the first.
Oh, okay. So then she's never been. So they're definitely going to give her the title at some point. I don't know about Backlash.
I know. So I just don't pick against Becky. I like to my WrestleMania point. Like that's like whenever Becky's in a matchup, I'm not picking against her anymore. All right. So then we get Stephanie Vaquer and Ivy Nile.
That was a great match.
It was a great match. Stephanie is so good in the ring. She commands a presence. She knows who she is. She knows her character. Ivy Nile is so underrated.
So talented.
So talented.
The thing she was doing in that ring was amazing.
She's diminutive. That's the problem, I think, with Ivy Nile. She's small. But because she's muscular and strong, her feats of strength look even more impressive. Right? Stephanie eventually gets the win, and I feel so bad for Ivy Nile because it's going to be the same thing we talk about with the men's roster. When you have all of these new guys coming in, when you have the Rusevs, you have the Alistairs coming in, you're going to have the NXT call-ups. You're getting the NXT call-ups already in the women's roster. You're going to get a returning Dakota Kai. You're going to get a returning Kairi Sane. You're going to have all these things coming back. Wrestlers like Ivy Nile get pushed down the card. And they use her to highlight other people, elevate other people.
Yep.
When she can go out there and have really great matches with just about anybody, I would love to see her get pushed. Actually, that's somebody I should have talked about last week when we did our short form content.
We could do that this week.
We can do that this week, yeah. I'd love to see her get pushed. I would love to see a run from her. The one thing she needs is she needs more confidence working on her mic work. That'll come. I mean, keeping her with Chad Gable right now is a good place for her because she's she has the matte background sense, so she fits with Gable, but Gable can also talk for her. She would also, if we're not going to do if you ever wanted to split that group, she's a good Paul Heyman girl. Like, I think she's a candidate for that. Put her next to Braun, put her next to Seth Rollins, put her next to anybody. She's an imposing figure with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good spot for her. But I feel so bad for her. As much as I love Stephanie, and I think she's great, that was my takeaway from this match. Is Ivy needs to be shown.
Yep, I agree. That's exactly what I was feeling during the entire match. I was like, here we go. They're going to take another, what are they? American...
They are American made.
American made, because now you got me confusing them with the Alpha Academy.
Well, I call them American Alpha because my brain just does Jason Jordan, Chad Gable from 12 years ago. I don't know why it does that, but it just never leaves my brain.
So
yeah, American made.
So immediately I started thinking, great, they're going to showcase another member of American Made and do absolutely nothing with them. They're going to put on a banger match, and it's literally just to showcase the other person. So that took me out of it for a minute, but I enjoyed the match thoroughly. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think she's another one that needs to be pushed. But again, she falls into that Natalya category where it's like their in-ring ability is amazing, but they're never going to be showcased like that unless you're trying to showcase somebody else. Like, that's just the way it is. And to your point, they're going to be calling up so many people, and there's people that are coming up that they already have that presence. Like Julia has more of that presence. Roxanne is definitely going to command that presence because their mic skills are better, and their in-ring ability and the things that they're doing already show that they're getting highlighted. Like, Julia was already a champion in NXT, so they're going to push her to the moon. Ivy, she's just going to be one of those casualties that gets lost in the shuffle. She's going to end up like a Maxine Dupree where she's only ever going to be in that group. You're going to see her periodically, maybe in Evolution 2 or something like that, but that's basically it. And it sucks. But if they were to break her away from the group, then I believe she would probably get more of a showcase. But because she's in that group, I think that's what's holding her back.
Or they break her away from the group and she doesn't get TV time. You can make the argument the other way.
I agree. I agree.
Being in that group puts her on TV.
It puts her on TV, but it doesn't do nothing for her matches.
Yeah, I get that. So we had that match. All right.
At that point, did we already get the backstage with Penta and Chad Gable?
That we had already gotten beforehand. So yeah, Penta and Chad Gable, we got that backstage. You take this over because I watched it, but I don't recall a lot of it.
So essentially, Chad Gable was just talking mad crap, talking about how Penta lost at WrestleMania, and then he also said your brother lost at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, I do.
And then,
I was half asleep.
Yeah, and then he got popped and he got knocked on his ass, and then he got the Cero Miedo to the face. That's it.
So they're doing. I understand why they had that segment. And by the way, Chad Gable in a El Grande Americano is numero uno shirt. in the fonts of, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Napoleon Dynamite. It was the Vote for Pedro shirt.
Oh,
it was the Vote for Pedro font shirt. So it was a little touch on that. They're doing a lot with Penta, while also simultaneously doing nothing with Penta.
I agree.
What I mean by
he was showcased twice in the show. I agree. He was showcased twice in the show, but it meant nothing overall. But that's what I told you. Not that it was going to be to this extent, but I told you could literally do whatever with Penta after the Intercontinental. When we were picking our picks for who was going to come away after WrestleMania, I literally said, well, Penta, you can do whatever you want. You're just going to insert him into anything. Unfortunately, Hunter heard that, and he said, I'm going to insert him into everything, but nothing mean anything.
It looks like he's going to have a feud with the Judgment Day. Moving forward. It looks like he's going to be simultaneously in this little luchador versus El Grande Americano feud, because apparently every luchador on the roster is going to be in this feud with Chad Gable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just like, what? I didn't like. It was fine. Chad Gable's hilarious. Penta's everywhere. Like, just that's
Penta's everywhere. That's the takeaway.
that's the takeaway. Penta's everywhere. All right, so then we get Pat McAfee addressing the WWE universe. So, if you were to take a piece of paper and a pen, or if WWE were to write a handbook on how to write a babyface promo, that would essentially be what Pat McAfee said. He said he hit all of the babyface cliches. So they show the footage from last week where Pat McAfee was choked out. They laid out to make it more effective. Michael Cole and literally says, "We're just gonna watch this with you guys." So they laid out and they just let the sounds of all the chaos happen. Pat McAfee gets a microphone. He goes, "I'm gonna address this right now." He stands up on the thing, and he starts talking about when I'm good and dead, when I'm 6 feet in the dirt. I want people to say I'm loyal. I want people to say I was good to my family. I was good to my friends. I was a good husband. I was a good father. I was all this stuff. From day one when I stepped in here, there was one person who always had my back, and that was the GOAT Michael Cole. I'm the son of a guy who worked paycheck to paycheck, and I'm no better than the rest of you, but I'm a hard worker. He doesn't touch on his NFL stuff. I thought he was going to say, when he goes, I came from nothing, he should have said, I was a Pro Bowler in the NFL, and then I created the #1 sports podcast in the country, and now I'm one of the lead voices of Monday Night Raw. He should have started hitting those accolades. He kind of skimmed over them. But this was the most baby faces of babyface promo. It was kind of like, okay, Pat, we get it. You're pissed. Then he goes, he addresses Gunther. He goes, Gunther, you Austrian asshole. He was cussing up a storm to a point where Netflix had to mute him multiple times. When you touch one of my boys, when you touch one of my friends, I'm always gonna think. So he looks up the crowd, not the crowd, the stage, and he goes, SmackDown version of Adam Pearce. I don't know if he legitimately didn't know Nick Aldis's name. SmackDown version of Adam Pearce. Get out here. And Adam Pearce comes out here and goes, not Adam Pearce, sorry. Nick Aldis comes out and he goes, Adam, I don't know how Adam Pearce runs his show. He likes to let chaos run amok over here. But that's not how I do business. We should have had this conversation at the back. Well, while I'm here now, what do you want? And Pat McAfee goes, lift Gunther's suspension so I can beat him down as quickly as possible. And Nick Aldis says two things. He says something that makes no sense. He goes, I spoke to Adam Pearce. We can't lift Gunther's suspension. But I'll tell you what I can do. We can lift Gunther's suspension. but if you want to have a sanctioned match at Backlash. And Pat McAfee's like, me and Gunther, Backlash, deal. Drops the mic and sits down. And then Michael Cole goes, I hope you know what you're doing. And Pat McAfee goes, I blacked out a little bit. But me and Gunther at Backlash, I'm good with that. And they get back to work. And I'm just like, what was this segment?
He's gonna get his ass kicked.
He's gonna lose, get his ass kicked, but they're gonna highlight him.
No, yeah, 100%.
And I don't know if you've ever watched his matches. His match against Adam Cole.
Yeah,
his
NXT.
match against Austin Theory. NXT is match against Austin Theory at WrestleMania. He's good in the ring.
Yeah.
Not Logan Paul good, but good.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen, because Backlash apparently is a week from this Saturday already.
Oh, wow.
They said that it's a week from this Saturday. So we got 12 days till Backlash. We have one Raw before Backlash.
Crazy.
Gunther's going to show up on Raw next week.
And beat his ass.
Making us think, Pat McAfee has a shot at beating Gunther.
That's not happening.
Backlash. That's not happening. Pat McAfee is going to be lunch meat.
Mm-hmm.
His chest is going to look like ground beef
I
by
think.
the end of that match.
Well, I doubt that only because doesn't Pat? He always wears a shirt.
Oh, wife beater.
Yeah, he always wears a wife beater. You're not gonna see it.
I could see Gunther being the nasty heel and ripping his wife beater and just chopping the crap out of him during the match.
I mean, you're not wrong. That's also a possibility. But yeah, they're not gonna have Gunther lose that so close to him losing at WrestleMania because then it just looks like anybody can beat him.
I think Pat beat Austin Theory at Mania. I think he won, but he definitely lost to Adam Cole. So Pat losing doesn't hurt Pat. He's not a wrestler.
Yeah, he's a commentator.
He's not a wrestler. He's a commentator.
100%.
He's gonna go into that. He's gonna go into that thing. He's gonna hit a couple moonsaults like he did in his matches.
Yep.
He's super athletic because he was a punter, so you know the legs are strong. He's gonna hit his superplex on Gunther. He's gonna look good, but he's not gonna win.
No.
Like that's so. What is your issue? Because my whole thing was it was just a long promo.
That was my issue. It was 20 minutes of I'm a good person. Oh yeah, by the way, I want to fight you, Gunther. That's it. Like it was just so drawn out. To like get to the point. Start with you hit my friend, you attacked me, I want my lick back. Let's make this match. I didn't need the tell me everything going on in your life and then the fact that you just kept beating it into my mind when you die. He just kept saying, when I die, when I'm 6 feet under, when I'm dead and gone,
He said, when I'm loyal in the soil.
Yeah.
Which, I'm just like, what?
Like, he just kept beating the image of his death into me, and I'm just like, what the hell is happening here? And then he's just like, oh, yeah, let me get a match with Gunther. I just thought it was way too much.
Okay. That was long. All right, so then we get the final segment of the night. Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins in the middle of the ring. So Seth Rollins comes up. Actually, Seth Rollins came out during the commercial break, during the international break. So they come back. Seth Rollins is already in the ring. And he goes, the night's almost over. I need an answer. And he calls Sami Zayn out and copy and paste from the initial one. They're talking about how the kids are friends, all this stuff. It's like, Sami Zayn tells him, you're dang, and you know what I want. You're manipulative. I've known you for a lot of years, and this is probably why you're at the top. He goes, it's not the only reason you're at the top, because you're a great wrestler, but this is why you're at the top. And immediately when he said that, I was like, yeah, Seth is manipulated in kayfabe. Seth has manipulated his way to everything he's ever gotten. He was turned his back on the Shield, became member of the Authority. Mm-hmm. Turned himself into the Monday Night Messiah, put himself into a group with Austin Theory and with Buddy Matthews at the time. So now he has this group with these guys. So yes, he's manipulated his way to main event spots in kayfabe. Mm-hmm. So Sami Zayn's like, this is why you're at the top. He goes, you play these games, you're better at it than at playing these games. But because you know me, because we've known each other for so many years, you know what I want. I want that World Heavyweight Championship. And you're dangling it in front of my face. Mm-hmm. And you're dangling it because me leaving gets you what you want more. But I will not be manipulated. I will not be... He hit like 5 words that all mean the same thing. I will not be manipulated. I will not be blackmailed. I will not be blackballed. Yeah. I will not be... It was like, all right, Sammy, we got it. We understand. You're turning red. He goes... I've had a target on my back for as long as I've been here for my entire career. I'm okay with having a target on my back. So go screw yourself. And immediately Seth's face drops and Steiner music hits and Bron Breakker comes out. And the image of Paul Heyman in the smoke behind Bron Breakker going to commercial was really nice, really fitting and really telling. Because yes, Seth is the leader of this group, but eventually, I think long term, you could do just Breakker and Heyman.
Oh, no, that's exactly what I thought. I thought when this group eventually breaks up, you leave Heyman with with him,
With
with
Bron
Bron
Breakker.
Breakker.
Absolutely.
100%. I was thinking that earlier in the night.
Yeah. So I didn't realize early in the night when they said Bron Breakker wants a match with Sami Zayn, that when Sami Zayn says no, they're going to immediately go into the match tonight. like, because they immediately went into that match afterwards. And
I didn't understand that either up until I looked at the timestamp and I said, "There's 30 minutes left to this show.
Yeah.
It cannot just be this segment." And then I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we get in the match.
Yeah.
This is if you don't leave, I'm gonna have to beat your ass."
Yeah.
That's exactly
And
what it
that's
was.
exactly what happened. So these two guys have a really good match. They have a lot of chemistry. Again, Bron Breakker was the guy who beat Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship last year. So two really good matches last year. They have a lot of chemistry, and Sami's one of those pros who Breaker's great in the ring, but Sami can carry a match for a guy who has limited deficiencies. He has deficiencies, but they're not glaring.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Sami was really good. So there was no way we thought Sami was going to win this match.
No.
Sami, towards the end, hits his spinning blue thunder bomb. Hits a blue thunder bomb, goes for a haluva kick. Immediately when he goes for the blue, I said it's called it a blue thunder kick, didn't I? Call it?
Yeah.
A haluva kick. He goes for the haluva kick. Bron hits a spear. His spear is 1, 2, 3, match over.
Mm-hmm.
Bron, this wasn't about winning a match for Bron Breakker. This was about sending a message.
Mm-hmm.
So after the first spear, Sami rolls to ringside.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at Seth Rollins. And Rollins lets the hard camera microphone pick it up. He goes, "This doesn't have to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
You can still take my deal.
Yep, it's not too late.
It's not too late. You can still leave and go to SmackDown." And again, Sami looks at him and goes, "Go screw yourself."
Mm-hmm.
So he makes his way to his feet. Braun hits a second spear. Braun and Seth lock eyes, and Seth just gives him the nod.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to Triple H 2014, nodding to Seth Rollins, "Do it." So he gives him the nod. Braun hits the ropes, super spear, third spear. At that point, Sami rolls out of the ring. The match, I don't think, is over at this point. I don't think they rang the bell yet after the third spear.
No.
But they didn't, right?
No, I don't think
But
so. It came right
match
after.
Yeah. The match isn't over yet, but security, medical personnel, they're coming to check on Sami Zayn outside the ring.
Yep.
I think Seth points, or Heyman points, and from the other side, Braun runs all the way around the ring.
Is that not when he did this?
He might have cut the throat.
He cut the throat.
But Seth told him to cut the throat.
Yeah.
Seth told him to cut the throat. And he runs all the way around the ring and hits a fourth spear.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Cole losing his mind, yelling, "Somebody stop this, the man can't breathe."
Mm-hmm.
That could have been it right there.
Yeah.
Braun's like, "Nah, bro, we going harder." We threw him in the ring again.
The ref.
Hits him with what about the ref?
No, I was gonna say, isn't that when the ref jumped on Sami Zayn, and that's when he cut off the match? When he throws him into the ring.
Yes, he throws him in the ring. He cuts the match off. The bell rings. Braun hits the ropes again. Hits a fifth spear on Sami Zayn. And everybody's losing their minds. Seth and Heyman get into the ring. And Seth's looking at him, and he's like, "All right, cool. This man can't breathe. He took 5 spears from this monster. Let's hit him with a curb stomp for good measure." Just to show, and this is where the dichotomy of Seth Rollins, he had a full he was a heel coming into the night, but he had a full 180-degree what type of heel he's going to be in this group by the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the compassionate, good guy heel towards his friend, beginning of the show.
Well, that's what he told Bron in the corner too. You hear him off mic, and he's yelling. He's like, "We choose who we show empathy to. We choose who's gonna get it." Blah 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 blah. And then he hits the curb stomp.
Yeah. So yeah, he hits the curb stomp.
And the whole time, Bron is like, "Yep, okay,
yep." He hits the curb stomp, and now it's like, all right, Seth's gonna be this manipulator, dictator type of guy, type of heel. And it doesn't matter if you're my best friend and I've known you for 15 years. Doesn't matter, whatever. If you don't get in line, I'm going to put you down. We're going to put you down. So they go off the air, similar, all cheering the same way they cheered last week over Sami Zayn's body. That was an effective segment towards the end. The segments leading up to it, I understand why by the time you get to the end, why they formatted it that way. But watching those segments up to that, I wasn't really feeling it. But as an overall story of one night, it made sense.
I thought it was great.
Okay.
I actually liked
you had
it.
I thought you had problems with the main event.
Oh, I had problems with the fact that it was drawn out too long. Again, it was just too long for me. The fact that this man had to hit 85 spears. I'm not.
But
I understood. I understood.
To show that he doesn't care about wins right now.
No, I get it. I understand that. I didn't need to see it. I'm over it. And I didn't get enough Paul.
Yeah, I think he's going to be, and this is my problem was when Heyman was with Punk in 2012, 2013. You have such a good talker on the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need Paul Heyman to do the best thing that Paul Heyman does.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Rollins is going to be the mouthpiece for this group. Heyman is going to be the guy behind the scenes manipulating things for these two guys.
No, 100%. I understand that, but that's my thing. I enjoy Paul Heyman when he talks.
Oh, so do I. Heyman's one of the great promos in the history of wrestling, but his character in this group is not necessary. His character literally is just going to be shadow broker for those guys. Mm-hmm. So yes, we want to hear more from Paul Heyman. You're only going to hear more from Paul Heyman when the story for Seth Rollins dictates you need to hear from Paul Heyman.
So my question to you is this over with Sami or is this their feud?
I think it's over with Sami. I think they just wrote Sami off for another 6 weeks. You can't have Sami Zayn show up on Raw next week. No, you just got. I was upset that they had Pat McAfee show up on Raw this week after he got choked out by Gunther last week. They definitely should have wrote him off for a week or two well, you can't really do that if Backlash is a week and a half away. But my point is like you needed to have that beatdown mean something. If he just shows up on Raw next week, not selling the injuries and challenging Rollins to a match at Backlash, then the beatdown's not as impactful. Mm-hmm. The beatdown doesn't really mean anything because he took 5 spears at a curb stomp. That should keep you on the shelf for a little while.
Okay.
For right now, I think it's over with Sami. I don't think Rollins has a match at Backlash because I don't think he needs a match at Backlash.
There isn't anybody to fight, especially if he just wrote off Sami. There's nobody for him to fight.
And the build is so short in between pay-per-views that you don't need to really do it. They set up matches at Backlash that were almost. Some of them were set up night after Mania or on SmackDown last week. You're gonna get Lyra and Becky set up last week. You're gonna get
Cena Orton
set up starting on Raw, and then they confirmed it on SmackDown. You set up Jimmy and Paul Logan Paul.
I was like, "What's wrong with what you said?" It took me a second.
Logan Paul. He set up Jimmy and Logan Paul last night. That's 3 matches. Backlash is probably only going to be a 5-match card. So you can find 2 more matches. You want to do New Day and Viking Raider return match at Backlash? You could do that.
True.
Kind of set it up last night with them being on commentary, right?
Yeah.
You just need to find 1 more match for a 5-match card. You don't need Seth Rollins on this show.
True.
So overall Raw was mid to me because there was just segments that either I did not care for or went on too long. It felt like this was a show that not they didn't have their entire lineup of roster for,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed to put something together real quick. Even though I see most of their roster was on this show.
Yeah.
It's just like most of your roster, you don't have anything planned for right now. So how do we get through 3 hours of Raw?
I thought it was solid. It was solid. It wasn't. It didn't wow me. It wasn't the Raw after Mania. It's a typical Raw, but they were right before Mania. They were putting on really good shows. So this feels like the lull.
Yeah, after WrestleMania lull until you
Yeah.
get into until you start building towards like SummerSlam or the Saudi shows or whatever that is. Because I think no Money in the Bank is in June, so you're gonna have you know, a one pay-per-view cycle that is just like let's get through Backlash and then let's start building some Money in the Bank.
Okay. I mean, it was a solid show. I mean, I think realistically they did what they were supposed to do. I mean, it's kind of like the MCU in the sense of, okay, after Infinity War and all that, the Infinity Saga, you have to start over.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania happened, the season just started, we have to start over. We have to start
Yeah,
building stuff. So I understand that. I understand the lull, but I just felt like they could have given us a little more. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's a weird time in wrestling. After WrestleMania, are always we I feel like we always go through this every year until we start the next cycle. Like you said.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for us. As always, like, comment, subscribe, follow. We enjoy you guys. Hope you're enjoying the shows, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.